Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out.
Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said, one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion. But
the WNBA finds itself in a devastating financial freefall, watching helplessly as their entire empire crumbles without Caitlin Clark on the court. Once again, proving that this league has learned absolutely nothing about protecting the one player who single-handedly dragged them from obscurity into the spotlight. This is the story of how a league continues to shoot itself in the foot, while their golden goose lies injured on the sidelines, and how their stubborn refusal to acknowledge reality is costing them millions of dollars every single day.
And the truth is the truth, and the data is there. And what we saw when Caitlin was out the last time, the 5 games that she missed earlier in the season, the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. Not just the Fever, but the entire league.
In this age of manufactured drama and social media controversy, facts have become as rare as sold-out WNBA games without Caitlin Clark. When Clark was sidelined with quad injury on May 24th, the harsh reality of the league's dependence on one player was exposed for the world to see. Now that she's out again with a groin injury, who knows when we are seeing a repeat of what happened.
quad injury jumped to her groin likely because of compensation. But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star, then so be it.
Nationally televised WNBA viewership plummeted by a staggering 55%, as games featuring the Indiana Fever saw a 53% drop in viewership, falling from an average of 1.81 million viewers when Clark played at just 847,000 without her. But here's where this story gets absolutely ridiculous. And by ridiculous, we mean predictably catastrophic for a league that refuses to learn from its own mistakes.
Clark went down. The WNBA ratings have dropped over 55% across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
The league is Caitlin Clark.
The league is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA, guys.
Sidelined with a left quad strain May 24th. National TV viewership has plunged since then 55%. Before the injury, the Fever, her team, were averaging 1.81 million viewers, almost 2 million. Since her injury, fewer than 850,000.
While Caitlin Clark was busy doing what she does best, filling arenas to capacity, breaking television rating records, and generating unprecedented revenue, the WNBA was busy doing what they do best. Absolutely nothing to protect their most valuable asset. Because apparently, when you have a player who is single-handedly responsible for 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity, the logical response is to let opponents target her with impunity while lecturing everyone about basketball plays.
News is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her fans.
What's particularly fascinating, and by fascinating, I mean deeply infuriating, is how this exact scenario has played out before, yet the league seems incapable of learning from their own history. This isn't the first time the WNBA has watched their ratings and revenue collapse when their biggest star gets injured. It's like watching someone touch a hot stove get burned and then immediately reach for it again while claiming they had no idea what would happen.
So what's really concerning about this is the fact that we are only a month into the regular season and Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries. with the first one being her having to miss some time with a left quad strain. Now, of course, this is concerning because if you're already on your second injury, you don't want to be that player that is always hurt. Cough, cough, Embiid, cough, cough, Anthony Davis. So I really do hope that the fever really sits her out right now for a while, only because you don't want her to have more long-term injuries and be more prone to.
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. The financial devastation has been swift and merciless. Ticket prices for Fever games have plummeted by 71%, with some tickets dropping from $860 to just $250. The average ticket price across Clark's missed games fell from $1,370 to $80, representing a staggering decline that speaks volumes about who actually drives interest in this league. Road games that have been moved to larger arenas, specifically to accommodate the demand for Clark tickets, are now struggling to fill venues that would have been packed to capacity with her presence. The Chicago Sky versus Fever rematch, one of the most anticipated games of the season, saw ticket prices crash from $210 to $95. This is the same matchup that previously drew 2.25 million viewers, making it one of the most watched WNBA games in history. But without Clark, it becomes just another game that casual fans have no interest in watching.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA have successfully broken Caitlin Clark.
Christine Brennan, the veteran sports journalist whose upcoming book on her game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports, promises to expose the league's failures, has been one of the most vocal critics of the WNBA's handling of their star player. The WNBA continues to fail to meet the moment, Brennan wrote after yet another incident where Clark was targeted by opponents. People are watching as never before, and this is what they see. Brennan's criticism cuts to the heart of the matter. The league has data showing that Clark alone draws more than half the league's TV audience, yet they continue to allow her to receive cheap shots and hard fouls that serve no purpose other than trying to intimidate their biggest draw. It's like watching a restaurant owner allow customers to harass the chef whose cooking is the only reason people visit the establishment.
As big a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, he did, and when he was gone, it affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And, Michael Jordan being out, maybe a 5 percentage points or something. Nothing like this. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case, and have that there is no one single athlete more important to his or her sport or tour or whatever the circuit is that they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA.
The pattern has become as predictable as it is maddening. Clark gets fouled hard by opponents who seem more interested in making statements than playing basketball. Of the league's 30 flagrant fouls handed out in 2024, 5 were committed against Clark, with the Chicago Sky responsible for 80% of the flagrant fouls against her. When she responds to physical play, she gets criticized for being too aggressive. When she doesn't respond, she gets criticized for being soft. It's a no-win situation that the league has created and refuses to address. Meanwhile, the financial impact continues to devastate not just a Fever, but the entire WNBA ecosystem. The league was already projected to lose $50 million this year, despite the Clark-driven surge in popularity. Without her on the court, those losses are mounting at an alarming rate as television ratings collapse, merchandise sales slow, and attendance figures return to pre-Clark levels.
I don't even know where to begin, man. I hope Caitlin Clark is okay. I want to know when this injury even happened, bro, because let's be serious here. She has the quad injury. Mind you, Caitlin Clark hadn't missed a game since she was like 19 years old, since she was like 18 in college or something. Now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as bad as she played the last 3 games. Let's just be serious here. She's like 1 for 20-something on threes in the last 3. We've never seen her shoot the ball this way. I'll say that. Has she been hurt and playing through this?
The most damning aspect of this entire situation is that it was completely preventable. Clark came into the league as a humble rookie who repeatedly praised her teammates and deflected attention from herself. She handled criticism with remarkable grace and maturity for someone who was only 22 years old. The league could have embraced her, protected her, and used her popularity to elevate the entire sport. Instead, they allowed jealousy and petty politics to poison what should have been a celebration of women's basketball. The ripple effect of Clark's injury extends far beyond television ratings and ticket sales. Corporate sponsors who invested millions based on the Clark-driven growth are now questioning whether their investments were wise. This situation reveals a fundamental problem with how the WNBA positions itself. The league seems caught between wanting to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization and wanting to embrace every bit of manufactured drama that might generate social media engagement. You can't have it both ways. Professional leagues protect their stars and maintain competitive integrity. High school drama clubs manufacture controversy and hope someone pays attention.
The thing I admire about Caitlin, she's a warrior. She's tough. You hear me? Bruh, you just don't see players, you don't see female basketball players like her. I'm sorry. I haven't seen a lot of female basketball players, like I said.
The comparison to other professional sports leagues is stark and embarrassing. Can you imagine if the NBA allowed players to spend months targeting LeBron James with dirty plays while claiming it was just competitive basketball? The league would shut that down immediately and issue suspensions faster than you could say flagrant foul. But the WNBA seems perfectly content to let this destructive pattern continue, apparently believing that any attention is good attention. The league's failure to protect Clark has created a toxic environment where fans are refusing to watch other WNBA games because they've lost trust in competitive integrity of the sport. When your own fans are saying they won't watch games without your biggest star because they don't trust that the games will be fairly officiated, you have a serious credibility problem that goes far beyond ratings and revenue.
To clean up, I believe the physicality and all this hacking and fouling that goes on, she getting blindsided by Marina Mabry. I think all of this stuff is having a wear and tear and an impact. And all you guys are doing are hurting yourselves because the numbers are going to drop and drop and drop. And trust me, when it's time for that collective bargaining agreement, they are going to point to this and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money? What happens if she gets hurt?
What makes the situation even more infuriating is that the WNBA has had multiple opportunities to course correct, and they failed every single time. Each incident involving Clark should have been a wake-up call for the league to establish clear standards about player protection and competitive integrity. Instead, each incident has been met with the same tired responses about basketball plays and letting the players play. The irony is that Clark's injury, the very thing the league should have been working to prevent, has provided the clearest possible evidence of her value to the organization. The 55% drop in viewership isn't subtle. Yet even with this crystal clear evidence, there's little indication that the WNBA has learned its lesson. League officials continue to make statements about competitive balance and letting players be physical, as if hard fouls and dirty plays are somehow essential to the sport. They continue to treat routine basketball plays involving Clark as major incidents, while ignoring actual dangerous plays committed against her.
Every day because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA, I love the way they play the game. But we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She going for a year or two. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and generate money?
The solution to this crisis isn't complicated, but it does require the WNBA to make some hard decisions about what kind of league they want to be. If they want to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization, they need to start acting like one. They need to establish clear guidelines about player protection, enforce those guidelines consistently, stop allowing manufactured controversies to overshadow the actual basketball being played. Most importantly, they need to recognize that their biggest stars, especially the ones who actually fill arenas and drive television ratings, deserve protection from the kind of targeting and harassment that serves no purpose other than generating social media drama. The ongoing collapse in viewership, attendance, and revenue without Clark serves as a harsh reminder of what the WNBA was before she arrived, and what it will become again if they don't change their approach. The league averaged just 555,000 viewers this season without Clark, well below last year's average of 670,000. These numbers represent a return to the pre-Clark era of empty arenas and irrelevant games that nobody outside of hardcore fans bothered to watch.
What I saw walk into the game is what the media don't see. thousands of kids.
Wearing what, Gil?
Kids. Huh?
What were they
Caitlin Clark jerseys.
Were they Fever jerseys? Were they Iowa jerseys? Were they
wherever she played? It was whatever she played.
That's what was more impressive to me.
It did that. It wasn't just it was Caitlin in the back.
For her style of
play. But her style of play. But it wasn't adults. Right. It was parents bringing their kids and their friends. Them seats was kids filled.
Right.
And that's what they don't understand. They don't grasp that part of it.
The most tragic aspect of this entire situation is that it didn't have to happen this way. With proper protection and promotion of their star player, the WNBA could have used Clark's popularity to build a sustainable foundation for long-term growth. Instead, they create a house of cards, one that collapses the moment their biggest draw steps away from the court. Until the WNBA learns to protect and promote the players who actually drive interest in their league, they'll continue to cycle through these boom and bust periods, where one player's presence or absence determines whether anyone bothers to pay attention. The question is whether the WNBA will finally learn to protect their golden goose, or whether they'll continue this destructive pattern until they completely squander the opportunity that Clark's popularity has provided. Based on everything we've seen so far, the smart money isn't on the league suddenly developing common sense.